All right. Hey guys, welcome. This is the Afro Puff Girls Podcast, where three urban naturalista blurs discuss, dissect, and fangirl over TV shows and movies, as well as books, music, and video games.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm from Brooklyn.
And I'm Carolyn. I'm your third co-host from Harlem.
And this is Amanda. I go by Fancy Ams.
Had to put it out there.
I just had to put it out there. So today we're going to be talking about Dark. We're completely obsessed with this TV show, and we just feel like it hasn't really been out there as much as like Stranger Things, and we just want people to fangirl over it just like we do. And Jessica is going to start it off because she is just like a Dark expert. I feel like.
Well, let me first start by saying that I started watching this because I got obsessed with shows about missing kids, and that sounds really bad.
That sounds so dark.
But it came up as a suggestion on Netflix, and decided to watch it, and it immediately caught my attention because the first scene, which is pretty dark, is a suicide by who we later find out is a man named Michael. And the first family we meet would be the Conwalds.
Yeah, the Conwalds.
Yep.
Yes. So we meet the Conwalds, we meet Michael briefly, and then Jonas. We have Hannah. Just gonna say right now, I don't like Hannah.
Just right off the bat.
Just right
Yeah,
off the bat.
Right off the bat. And then we meet Ulrich. Ulrich is not a Conwald. Ulrich is a Nielsen. And Hannah and Ulrich are having an affair. So from there we know that Hannah's not a good person.
It takes two to tango, though, but, you know.
I mean, I was getting there, but, you know, I just wanted it to be known that Hannah is not a good person. So you could talk a little about the Nielsens.
So we later find out about the Nielsens, and they, what's his name? Yorick and his wife, Katerina. They have three kids. And the youngest one, what's his name? Mikkel.
They have Martha, Magnus, and Mikkel.
Yes. Martha and Magnus. And I don't like Martha. And then you'll also see that Martha, later on, they did have her and, what's his name? Jonas had a relationship, but she's now with his best friend. It's some real, like, high school bullshit. And with his best friend named Bartosz, which I love this name so much. It's just so cute, Bartosz.
It has a ring to it, definitely.
It has a ring to it. I like it. And Bartosz, what else is, like, what happened? Oh, so one important thing is there is a kid missing in town that goes by the name of Eric, and they don't know where to look for him, where to start. And then what leads after that? I just want to, like, try to fast forward, because we mainly want to talk about season 2, but...
So there's a lot surrounding Jonas, pretty much in this first season. You'll notice that it goes.
Well, they jump through certain times. There's a period of the show that's in current time, 2019, which is where the story actually begins. And it begins with this whole mystery of Jonas's father committing suicide.
Right.
So this sets off the chain effect of events that happen. So we have Jonas's father who passed away. He comes back from taking a break from everything that's been going on. He gets back to school and he finds out that his best friend is dating his ex. Not only that, he comes back to town to find out that one of their classmates has been missing for about 2 weeks.
Right.
So,
Carolyn, you were good. Like,
let's Oh, yes. So, being that the kid is missing, they know where he keeps his stash. He is the neighborhood drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So they go off to look for his stash. They run into a few of their neighborhood or their classmates while they're doing that in the forest in the middle of
the night that, that everybody does. They go out into the woods in the middle of the night, like nothing.
But I think that was like their hangout, though, like the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's so normal.
That was, yeah.
I mean, there was a couch hanging outside.
Jesus Christ, I forgot about that couch.
So as the teenagers meet up and they're having their little squabble, a huge noise from this dark cave scares them all and they go off running. Problem is they end up losing little Mickle in the running.
Mm-hmm. Who's 11.
Yes.
And they're all teens. They're like maybe 16, 17. And him and Jonas go off. Jonas trips. He gets up and Mickle is gone.
Yep. And then, so what's that? He's missing. What else happens? Yeah, that was the first episode, basically.
So all of that happens in the first episode. So, fast forward, Mickle somehow winds up in 1986. Poor little boy.
I know. Can you imagine coming from 2019 to the 80s? That is horrible.
I would be.
That's like
heaven.
I'd rather come from the 80s to 2019.
Nah, I would be in heaven. I'd be like the music, dancing around.
You ain't got no cell phone.
I only talk to you. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I can't.
I only talk to you. So it's
I need Google. I need internet. I need it. I'll be like, I don't want to go back to encyclopedia, please. No.
Oh, goodness, no.
That's horrible.
That's true. Because I'll be like, wait, y'all don't have no Netflix? Okay, no, I can't.
Yeah, gotta go. Yeah,
Send
exactly.
me back to 2019.
You probably only had
go
4 channels. I don't know what it was in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
It was one in like 89. So
they probably had some banging commercials though.
I doubt it.
Oh, I like how you. I don't know.
So Mickle comes out of the cave. He is transported to 1986. So the first place he goes is the hospital. One of the nurses find him. They're asking him questions about where he is, who his parents are, where he comes from, and it's just one big mystery. In the same time, in 2019, excuse me, they're still searching for him and the missing drug dealer.
Right.
Well, right now they're just focused on Mickle because Ulrich is actually a cop.
He's like the chief police, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh no, that's
that's
the other woman.
That's my girl Charlotte.
That's our homie.
Yeah, she's a good one.
To go back to Mickle being 86, so what was the first place was actually, remember, that's what home. Was shocking. He went home. And then who comes out is his father, but his dad is like a teenager, like 17 or 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
My thing is, okay, so when you're 16, you don't know who this kid is. And then you're like, what are you doing here, freak? And then you just hit him in the head. Who hits little kids who are lost?
I mean, it was the 80s.
He's like, I'm looking for my phone.
The 80s is scary, people. Like,
I don't know. Yeah.
And then his mother comes, and they're the tallest high schoolers because if you go to their high school, they're the only tall motherfuckers there. Like,
oh yeah, Ulrich and Katerina. Katerina kind of, I thought she was gonna be like, oh, let me help this kid. He looks lost. Because she's like, who's that? And she's actually...
No, she's even worse.
Than Ulrich is.
She even asked him, I think, one time, like, are you on acid or are you high or something?
Yeah.
Like, you see this kid, like, dirty, and he looks so out of place. It's like, I don't know. But yeah. So back in 2019, Ulrich is losing his mind and... Well, not losing his mind, but, he's in a frenzy. He's a parent that's missing a child.
And around the same time, they actually find a body in the woods. And he's the first one to uncover it, but it's not Mickle. So if we go back to 1986, they're actually missing another kid. They're missing Mads, who is Mads Nielsen, and that's Ulrich's younger brother. So it's definitely a case of history repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he is so focused that he missed that Mikkel is missing, that he didn't realize that the body they found is Matt's in 2019.
Yes, because the body that they found in 2019 was in 1986 clothing. He had a Walkman that was still playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that's crazy.
very odd.
Yeah. Did he... I'm trying to remember. Did they... You said he didn't realize that, right?
He didn't realize it until
At
later.
first.
At
first. Okay.
At first, he's like, that's not my son. So, it's somebody else's problem. I got to find my child.
Mm-hmm.
But when he starts putting everything together, he realized that, obviously, like, as a cop, wouldn't you want to focus on, okay, this kid was missing, my son is missing, it would all be interconnected somehow, but you just brush it off. So he had to go back. He found a picture of him and his brother was actually wearing the same shirt, the same sweater that the was on the body.
Okay.
So that's why he was like, he went back. And instead of getting like a DNA test, he's just like, could they preserve a body
for 33
years? And it's like, dude,
like,
what?
Like, it's so dumb.
Like, just get a DNA test. You get a DNA test.
Like, this is not McDonald's French fries. This is like an actual, like, organic matter.
If they did a DNA test, there would be no season 2.
Exactly.
No, there would be, because Mikkel would still be missing. I'm just saying, like, it's just
okay.
It would just confirm, like, it would just make it easier for him to get other people to help him realize what, like, something strange is going on. So that's what annoyed me about everybody in this show, is because they're figuring stuff out on their own. And if they would have just, let me see how this person would react if I told them what I found out, they're doing everything by themselves. So that's how Ulrich's dumbass, okay, that's how his dumbass decides, oh, let me go into this cave that my son might be in. And he ends up in 1953. So,
Yeah.
And I think, and this is why Charlotte is my favorite. I feel like everything that she's been told, and Charlotte, because we missed a whole bunch of people, but it's just, we're going to get to them eventually. Charlotte, I feel that's why I love Charlotte, because granted, she doesn't tell everybody anything, but she doesn't jump to action and do something stupid.
No, she's very calculated.
Yes. So, and you could see that even when they showed her in 1986, because, the birds are falling from the sky,
Oh, yeah, and that's a flashback to her, like, during when she was younger, she had a journal where she had, like, sketched the birds, and it was the same exact birds, the same exact fallen birds.
Right. So, the same thing happens in 2019, and, she goes to get these birds checked out, and she remembers, okay, the same thing happened, but she's not jumping to conclusions, and she's not doing anything stupid to get her trapped in freaking another time. So that's why I'm just like, okay, I get the secrecy, but at the same time, like, when he called Charlotte, because he did call Charlotte, I'll give him that. But you didn't wait for a response, sir.
Like this, hold on.
You didn't, you just, and then she finds an article from 1953, because Ulrich decides that, okay, so there's a strange man.
Yeah, we have, before we get into why Ulrich is on this article, and also I want to, like, point out, too, like, if you, like, what you tend to notice as the show progresses is that each of these cycles are 33 years apart, which I feel like it's still not explained in season 2 either. Like, why is it every 33 years? That's really interesting.
Charlotte did explain, somebody explained it at one point, why it was 33 years, because I think we have that leap year, and then it, like...
Oh, everything is aligned.
Yes.
Perfectly.
In every 33 years, everything is as it was 33 years ago.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was
that is
the
true.
guy who wrote the book. It's H.G. Tenhouse.
Townhouse, yeah.
Yeah. He's the one
that does make sense, because there was a scene when York first attempted to go into the cave. Remember, we were talking the scene. That scene was really beautiful and well shot. And he went to the cave, and just so happened Mikkel had ran back to the cave that night too, because he was trying to get back to 2019. And I feel like they heard each other's echoes maybe, or they heard a sound, and then they both came out, and then you see it's like they're sitting at the base of the entrance of the opening of the cave, but it's like different timelines, but same time at the same, like, it's so crazy. I love it.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's another thing I love about it. It's just beautifully shot. Even if you don't like time travel stuff, watch it. You're gonna like it. They do it so well.
But yeah. But also too. So when York goes to 1953, this is when I first saw this. This was what first went through my mind, because remember, he went deeper in the cave than we saw before, and you see a door, and it's like, how the fuck did that door get there, and why does this fucking door lead to tunnels to different times?
Yeah.
And in the smallest town in Germany, of all places.
Yeah. On the door, I think it was Sigmundus Creatus S.
First of all, that would scare, I feel like, any normal person. I would take a picture of it and get the fuck out.
Yeah. I'd be out of there.
People walk through the woods normally.
Because, like, you're looking at this, and you're watching this, and you see them kind of, like, crawling through a tight space, and then you're just going to open a door in a cave with some Latin freaking, like, writing on it. Like, no. Nobody.
No.
Nobody. And if you do, don't. What's wrong with you?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You bring a group of people with you and a newspaper, like news reporters.
Safety in numbers, yes.
I'm going in there.
I feel like that's what kind of actually pissed me off. I was like, no one would ever do this.
You would be surprised.
But you see, I guess you have to be in a small town in Germany because you got nothing else. If I,
there you go.
If I had nothing else to do,
you might as well.
I'm gonna go for a cave with some Latin, with some Latin scripture.
Any place got to be better than that.
I know.
I think I'll give it to him. It's like he wasn't in his right mind. He's like, I gotta find my son.
Yeah.
This is sketchy, but I'm gonna do it. Me, I would have been like, don't do it, sir.
Yeah, but then see, that's what happens. His ass wound it up in
he went left when he should have went right. Let's just say that.
I don't even know because
no, he did because when Jonas went the first time, he went right. Because from coming from 2019, if you go right, you go to 1986.
See what I mean? Jessica's an expert on this.
Went left, so he went to 1953.
Okay,
that's right.
All right. Oh God.
So I'm like, no, you went the wrong way. You should have made a right at Albuquerque.
You're gonna be like, remember that? I'm sorry to digress, but remember that thing they had on YouTube with the Haitian GPS when he was like, "Why you made that turn?" That's you.
I'm gonna be real quiet till you get lost. I'm like, you shouldn't. I didn't tell you to make that turn. Now we lost.
So yeah, when he arrives in 1953, there is he remembers a guy from the present time in 2019. It's a man called Helg, and when you see Helg,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know what I'm. Oh, so there's a guy from 1953. I mean, there's a guy from present time 2019, and his name is Helg. And when you see Helg, he's very
he's senile, pretty much, at this point.
He's senile, and you can tell, like, there's something off. It's more of senile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they quickly, too, show, like, in the 80s, he
has scars.
86, he has a scar, and you can tell he's off, and he's a janitor at the power plant, which also to mention that the cave is close to the power plant. So...
Yes.
The people in 2019, they have their suspicions that these missing kids it's connected to this power plant because it's like close in the woods, and they believe that's where it's coming from. So Helg, he just seems off. He just doesn't seem the type of person that should be around kids. saying that.
He's strange. And it's sad because the first thing that we actually do meet Helg, was he an old man?
Yeah, he's an old man.
He just wanders off and then they bring him back to the hospital. And even in 1986, when we see him, he's being very nice to a woman named Claudia. But it's just kind of nice that you would just be like, okay, stop talking to me.
No, yeah, because she gave that reaction too. Because he was like, oh yeah, so before with Helg, Claudia, what's her name? Claudia Tiedemann. She is the new president, the new president of the power plant. And you see Helg coming up to her. It was like, oh, me and my father are so proud of you. And obviously, if you're like me, you're like, why the fuck your father knows her?
Because it is a small town.
It's really weird. It's like, and he's like, here, I want to give you this. And it just seems like, no, I don't want that.
He gives her a book, though. He gives her a book, that the same book that H.G. Tannhaus had written about time. I forgot what the name of the book is. We will mention it next time. But he gives her the book and she's just like, okay, it's my first day. You gonna make me late? And she walks off while he's talking to her, but she's not worried about him. She's like, she's the first woman that ever had that position. And she's ready. She's a boss.
She's a boss. Claudia, might I say, Claudia is actually my favorite character in the whole series. And this can be heavily argued, but I don't care.
No,
I mean, not just by you. No.
I can see why.
I mean, like, I could see some people not liking her.
I'm not going to say I don't like her. I just don't trust her yet. I don't know what she's about.
But that's the thing. No one ever trusts someone who knows everything.
This is true.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the name from book. So I'm trying to get the name of the book from Dark. So this book that she's gifted is written by a man called H.G. Tannhaus. And this is actually the same man who is Charlotte Doppler's grandfather. And we see him when they go back to 1953. Mm-hmm. So it's really a lot of intricacy in it. There's a lot of connections. And H.G. Tannhaus, we first see him in 1953 when Yorick first comes on the scene. And I don't even know why he went into a fucking watch shop or clock repair shop. Sure. Was it called a clock shop? I don't even know. It was just like clocks and watches, and I don't know. That's a real
I'm not sure. Maybe that was the first place.
Like, I just don't know why he went there.
I don't recall why. I know that he did meet, and it must have been very strange for him that he did meet his father when his father was like 12.
Yeah, he's like 11, 12.
He met his grandmother and his grandfather. His father, sorry. When his father was like 12. And they were asking him how to get to the Tiedemann house.
Ah, yeah.
And he said, they didn't say the Tiedemann house. They said the address. And he's like, that's my house. And it's very strange because Egon Tiedemann, who is a police officer in 1953, he's also a police officer in 1986. Him and Ulrich don't have that great of a relationship. And it kind of, I don't know about you, but Ulrich gets in trouble in 1953.
Yes, big trouble.
Because he decides that he's going to take matters into his own hand because he feels that Helga, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, whatever.
Had something to do with all these missing kids. Because we have so far, not counting the kid Mads in 1986, we had Eric, we had Mikkel, and then we had another kid go missing, Yasin. Mm-hmm. So that's 3 kids so far going missing, and
their bodies appeared in 1953, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think he knew about that yet.
No, he didn't.
So, yeah, this is very strange, and I think that's one of, just to veer off just a little bit, I think that's one of the worst things that can happen when you have somebody missing, which I mentioned yesterday, is to not know what happened, and then to take 2 kids and do what they did to them, and I'm not even going to say what they did because, honestly, I don't even know. It's still a mystery to me. It's still a mystery to me. And put them in 1954. Like, nobody's going back 66 years to find out.
Right.
You know? Maybe they'll look, okay, maybe this person grew up or whatever. But nobody's going back to no John Doe.
Even if you, like, lived in that time, I just feel like you're not going to, like, remember that. Just the same as, well, we'll get to that later about Mikkel. But, yeah, I just feel like even if you live through that time, like, say there was a kid missing in 83 and then he, for some reason, shows up in 2019, you're not going to put those two and two together because it's actually impossible. So, bless you. But, yeah. But it was else about Tannhaus. So, the book by H.G. Tannhaus is called Journeying Through Time. So that was written by him and given to Claudia. So by Helg. And Helg in 1953, he actually used to be tutored by Claudia. They're about the same age. And we see that Helg lives in this, like, big mansion. Probably it's most likely the biggest house in
he's a
Winden. And then that's when we find out who his father is. And his father is actually the then president of the power plant. So that's how he was saying his father was wishing Claudia the best. And that's when it makes you realize, too. That's when I was like, so why the hell were you a janitor?
But that's what I wanted to point out. I'm like, he was just weird as a kid as well.
Right, that like if your own father is giving you a janitorial job, then that means he doesn't even have confidence in your skills.
No, he has like no confidence in you whatsoever. Yeah, like your dad do you like that? I'd rather just be a janitor somewhere else, not in my dad's company. Yeah.
And also, like that lends another level of suspicion about him because why do you have to be under your father doing this janitorial? Like you said, he can go anywhere. I feel like his father needed to keep an eye on him to make sure that he wasn't doing stuff he shouldn't be doing.
I feel like the Helg that was in 1986 was the same mind. Like his mind didn't grow at all from that little kid we saw in 1953.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah. Sure. But something traumatic did happen to him. Like you said, Ulrich decided to take matters into his own hand. He put 2 and 3 and 5 together and decided that Helg had something to do with the missing kids. He's like, he escaped from the hospital the same night Mikkel disappeared. He had something to do with it. And he decided to go find this little boy and get rid of him. And he thought that would handle everything. So what I'm thinking, sir, you meet this little Helg. He don't got no scars on him. He's perfectly fine little boy. Look a little weird, but you know. So you decide, let me beat him over the head with a rock on the same side he has a scar in the future. And basically, do you not realize that you're setting everything into motion? Right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, with time travel people, like, yes, you're distraught, but at the same time, you're stupid.
Exactly. It could have ended up having like a butterfly effect.
And it did.
It did.
And it
True.
did.
Yeah.
Because Helg survived that attack. And here Ulrich is thinking, I did it. No, you idiot. You ain't doing anything. Well, you did everything. Technically, if you want to
Technically, he did. He set off that motion for Helg to do those things.
Which Helg becomes like a pawn in this, like, I call it a time travel cult.
It
is.
There's a gentleman by the name of Noah who decides that he's going to help Helg through his journey in life and teach him that we need to kidnap kids and kill them.
The way you said
because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It does not make any sense to me.
So here's the thing.
I can't see somebody presenting that to another person. They're like, you know what? That sounds amazing. Let's go find some boys to abduct. Just no.
Here's my theory on that. I feel like, because I think you're the one who mentioned yesterday that Noah had his own time machine.
Yes.
So I feel like...
he was trying to perfect it.
And he knew these kids were going to die, but he knew this was the only way to perfect it, so he just didn't care. So I feel that's my thing on that. I feel like, I mean... I don't think he was like, I'm just going to kill some kids. But I feel like he's like, well, I need to fix this time machine. And unfortunately, people are going to have to die so I can fix it. And what better way but with children, still developing beings, to perfect
They're
my
small
time
enough
travel.
to slide through the wormhole.
I know,
That's what that
right?
is.
So messed up.
I think Helg only helped him because Noah is, I guess you would call him a traveler. He's part of the travelers. So he is in 1953, excuse me, when Helg is a child. So I guess he groomed him. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where grooming comes in.
And since I don't
keep
know
your children
Helg
away.
Was Helg like, did you think that after the attack he began to be like, he was brain damaged, or something was wrong before the attack?
I think he was just a kid, though. Like, I felt like he was strange.
He was just
had
a shy
fascination
kid
with like the dead animal. There was like a dead bird or something, and there was a difference between the way Charlotte had the dead birds, because she did have the dead birds like in the freezer.
Which was disgusting.
Then,
oh my god!
And the way that Helg had a dead bird in a box, because he was just like admiring it.
Yeah.
And Charlotte was just curious about it.
And these kids, again, 1953 kids were mean too, because the way they bullied him was so messed up.
Oh yeah.
Then they beat him up, and then they peed on him. It's like
they peed on him. I forgot all about that. It's messed up.
Ultimate disrespect.
It's like you took your time. That's so nasty.
That's gross.
Yeah, it was real gross. But yeah, so
I feel like after the attack, he was traumatized and he wouldn't speak.
Right.
That's in season 2. So he wouldn't speak because well, she's got attacked, almost died. Some strange man talking about I did all this stuff, and I don't know what he was talking about. And the only person that would get him to speak was Noah. I want a winky dink.
And I feel like back then, because it was 1950s, and that's the thing we need to mention too. Noah comes off like a priest. He dressed all in the nines to like a priest, and I don't know. I feel like if, like in this time, if my son was missing and then a priest came and was like, "You can talk to me," I would have lost my mind.
Automatic suspicion.
No, like, what did you do to him?
Exactly.
Whereas back in the 50s, it's like, oh my God, thank God this priest is here.
Yeah. No, actually, because we can actually compare that to what happens in the show, because he meets Mikkel. Noah meets Mikkel,
right,
in 1986.
Yeah,
and they're like, okay, yeah, talk to the priest whenever, and then it's like, leave him alone. So Mikkel is just like, I kind of don't want to talk to him, but okay, I guess. So then he goes, he speaks to Helg in 1953, and then in 2019, he takes. Oh, sorry, is her name Elizabeth?
Yes.
Yeah. He takes Elizabeth,
who is Charlotte's daughter.
Charlotte has 2 daughters, Francisca.
Yeah.
And Charlotte.
And Elizabeth. And Elizabeth is actually deaf.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So they go to pick her up, and she wanders off with this guy named Noah. So it's like they were freaking out, like, who the hell is Noah? Like, who is this Noah? I don't care if he's a priest. You don't go off with anybody. You don't talk to anybody that you're not supposed to talk to. But he doesn't take her, or he doesn't do anything with her. He gives her a watch that has it inside it. It's inscripted for Charlotte.
Yeah,
which is strange.
That's right.
Well, it is strange.
It's strange to the child, I guess. But
it's strange,
Charlotte,
but it's not strange. It's strange that he has it, because I feel like that watch was given to her by her grandfather.
Yeah,
who had the clock shop. So it's like, it's like everyone wants to know who the fuck is Noah.
And also, I feel like when Charlotte was given that watch, that set off her urge to do this time traveling.
Right.
Because how is her daughter in possession of something that she's been missing for 33 years?
Exactly. And that's speaking of missing things, bless you. When we talk about Claudia, so, we see Claudia in 53 and we see Claudia in 86. And the thing is, in 1953, Claudia dog goes missing.
Yes.
And the dog runs into, I think that he does run into the cave.
Yeah.
Shouldn't go back and go forward to 1986. She's around. I forgot why she's actually around the cave. But guess who comes out? Her dog.
Helg's dad decided to show you. He's like, if you're gonna run it, you gotta know everything. And he decides to show her that they actually have nuclear waste?
A lot of nuclear waste. Were they hiding it, I guess?
Yes.
So they're hiding it because this is like right after the disaster of Chernobyl, actually. Yes. And and now out of the cave comes her dog.
That was missing for
and I just love how she just takes him and don't even really question it.
Now, I would be super suspicious. A dog's lifespan is not 33 years. No. So how are you coming out of nowhere looking just like you did 33 years ago? And with the spring in his back. Yeah, like a sprightly young puppy. Yeah. That was crazy.
That was crazy.
I wouldn't be overjoyed. I'd be super suspicious. Like, no, you are not my dog.
And she's like, it's my dog.
Yeah. Like, she went right along with it like it was supposed to happen like that.
I love when, I forgot what the dog name was. Great. But I love when her dad was like, is that so? And she's like, no.
She's just looking at him like, what do you want? Don't worry
about that. I got my dog back. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's my dog.
So at that point, when that's when Claudia actually starts figuring a lot of the time travel stuff out. But what that makes us realize, when the dog goes into the cave, it actually comes out the cave at the same time. So they show us that everything is linear. So when something is happening in 1953 and they show something else happening in 1986, they're actually happening at the same time.
Right.
So that's why it's like the dog went into the cave and the dog came out and it went straight to her, because it's an older version of Claudia, but it's still
her.
Right.
Her. So that's what she was like. She had the dog sitting on her table, and her receptionist came in looking at her. She was like, what? It's a dog.
It's my dog.
She was looking at it all strange, like, where did that dog come from? Mind your business. Mind your business.
Mind your business. Silly. And also, this is not when we're first introduced, but this is when you see who Claudia's daughter is, and her daughter name is Regina Tiedemann. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to go back to 2019, what's funny is that Regina Tiedemann's husband now is the president of the power plant, and his name is Alexander, and he actually takes his wife's last name, Tiedemann, which is like...
So progressive.
So it's very progressive.
But it's also fitting, because that is not his real name.
This is true.
His real name is Boris Newell.
I have to say, when I was first, I was actually confused. I was like, did she marry her cousin? Like, I was like, is there incest involved? Because you don't, I mean, even though it's like, it's progressive, you don't hear that every day, a husband taking his wife's last name, unfortunately. That does not happen all the time.
He's secure.
And then they were saying, I think her or his wife or him explained it, and it was like, okay, I guess that makes sense.
It was just easier.
The transition was easier.
The name was already established. It wasn't like, oh, I gotta reintroduce caller as, the name. It's like, this is my name. This is the name that showed that they had power. Might as well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And it was just easier and more convenient for him, because it's like, change my name again, and why not?
Yeah. And these two, they're the parents of Bartosz that we had mentioned earlier. And so, like, as you know now, this family, there's a lot of family lines in the show. So Bartosz's mother is Regina, and Regina's mother is Claudia. Claudia's father is Egon, who was the police officer who actually arrested... the arresting police officer of Yorick when they were looking for the person who they didn't know he attacked him yet. They just know he was missing.
They knew he was missing, and there was this strange man running around with blood on his hands.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So that's when they took him in.
Sir, and I'm talking to Ulrich when I say this, you are so dumb.
Like, you're a police officer, and you're running around these 1950 streets.
These 1950
with blood all over your hands, when you know that they're exactly like that. Like, you're literally calling to be arrested.
Exactly.
I don't care what year you were in, 2019, 83. You're walking around the streets with blood on your hands. People are going to stop and ask questions.
But what you'll even realize too, watching this show, the Winden police don't have the best police force.
They're not that.
No, I mean the fact that if you look back to Yorick's history, why is he even a police officer? I have no idea. I don't know why they thought he was like, okay, this is the gentleman that we need to help run our police force.
I also think because there's like there's a total of 48 people in the town, so it's like by default, there you go.
The reason why you're saying this is okay. So Egon and Ulrich actually have a history. Even
they have a real time traveling history that they're not even aware of at certain.
Ulrich.
Well, they're not aware of at certain times. One is more aware of it in one frame of time, and the other one's more aware of it in another frame of time.
So Ulrich, obviously, he's an adult in 1953, and growing up in 1986, teen Ulrich, let's just break it down that way, gets accused by bitch ass Hannah, falsely accused by that, of raping his then girlfriend and future wife Katerina. And Hannah does this because she wants Ulrich, bitch, like, get a life. And Egon, he just has it out for Ulrich, and I feel like if we're gonna turn it around, I feel like he kind of remembers that man from 1953 that they arrested, and Ulrich is obviously that man from 1953. So he kind of gets that vibe, like, oh, you're a bad guy. That makes sense.
I had a feeling he doesn't like that family. I think that's what it is because
I can see that.
Now I just want to quickly delve into season 2. This is season 1, when 1953. Ulrich's grandmother moved in with the Tiedemanns, and he moved in. They moved in with the Tiedemanns, which obviously was with his father. And the thing is, what we see in season 2 is that his grandmother Agnes, had an affair going on with Egon's wife.
Right.
So I feel like they don't show it in season 2, but probably down the line.
I don't know. I feel like Egon is like a nice guy. He wouldn't hold, because if he wasn't even upset with his wife, right? Because he honestly he's not stupid. Well,
but then that's our
he's simple. We'll say that.
But that's our never theory. Remember, me and you discussed that other theory that Regina father is Yorick's dad, because Trant, who is Yorick's father, basically grew up in the house with Claudia.
Yeah, and in 1986,
so he probably knows, like, he's like Regina's father, but he's not part of her life. So it's like, you ain't shit. And then you have Yorick.
Well, we don't know, because you said it yourself the other day. Like, Claudia was probably like,
she's
I don't need a man.
Independent.
Right.
I love Claudia.
She is like she's a boss ass bitch.
No, she is.
Yes.
I wish she was like a more attentive mother, but
yeah.
You can't have it.
I know I was gonna say
when she realized that, her, because Regina unfortunately in 2019 finds out that she has cancer and she is dying. And at the same time in 1986, old Claudia goes back to, I don't even know how to describe it. 1980s.
Claudia was like dipping in, dipping out.
Everything.
Like, she was like, that's why I think she's the only character on.
No, because
she's not. Jonas
traveled
all.
Yeah.
But see, her and Jonas are the only 2 characters that went through each cycle that we know of right now.
Jonas didn't go through every cycle. Poor Jonas. That boy don't know nothing. He like Jon Snow.
Oh, gosh.
No, he is. He really
nothing.
is. He thinks he knows something, but he doesn't know everything.
He's the one that actually, he's like, I'm going to stop this time travel. And then Noah's sitting in the car with Bartosz, and he's like, he don't know it, but he about to start everything up. I'm like, this dummy.
I forgot that scene. That scene was actually funny.
I was just like, oh my gosh. She's like, yeah, I'm going in here in the cave. I'm about to blow everything up. It's like,
and the sad part is that's like an older Jonas.
Yeah,
it's like you're old ass. Well, not your old ass, but your mature ass should know better.
What's strange for me, because sometimes it's like the same because Jonas does go back to his mom, because Jonas 2019 teen Jonas, he goes missing because he goes into the cave, but he goes out the wrong way. So he ends up in 2050...
2052, 2053?
I think it's 2053 or
2052.
2052.
Yeah.
So he ends up in 2052, gets knocked out, and he's stuck there, kind of, because they're actually not allowing people on. It's an apocalypse world at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the other Jonas, this is in season 2. So older Jonas comes back, and young Jonas has been missing for a couple months now, and older Jonas goes to and sees Hannah again. That bitch. Every time you hear Hannah, just know it's gonna be followed up with that bitch. Just a warning. So he goes and he sees Hannah, and I'm just questioning, like, which Jonas is this?
Right.
Because there's so many of them time traveling now. It's like, which Jonas, like, what did you learn that you're coming back now? Like, what world have you seen that you're coming back now? That's why I'm like, it's hard for me to trust anybody.
I feel like
you don't know they're true.
I don't know which Jonas I'm seeing right now.
Right. And it could be two possible different, like, how do I say it? Because it sounds dumb. I was going to say two different futures, but like two different, it's like multiverses in a sense.
Right.
Like two different outcomes. And it could be like two Jonas that's operating on two different, like, I don't know how to say it, like wavelengths or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like...
I don't think the two old Jonases, the Traveler Jonas.
Yeah.
Let's just call him Traveler Jonas and Traveler Jonas that are the same age won't ever be in the same room together. But young Jonas and Traveler Jonas
are in the same,
yeah. So they end up in the same room together, which is it works. But then it's like, wait, what are you doing? Because they don't know what they're doing. The Jonases don't know what they're doing.
The Jonases,
yeah, all three of them.
I thought of Jonas Brothers. The Jonases don't know what they're doing.
They mean well, but
they don't know.
Yeah.
They cause more harm than good.
Yeah. And that's the thing we didn't even bring up with Mikkel. So Mikkel is obviously, he goes back to, he's in 1986, so he has no way getting out, and Mikkel grows up and he meets he gets in a relationship with that bitch. Yeah. And they have a son named Jonas.
Yeah, so Jonas is technically he's the mistake and he's not supposed to be alive.
So yeah, he's like a glitch in the system when you think about it.
But I feel like Jonas is the reason for everything, because there's everybody that is like he's like, okay, he finds Mikkel in 1986, and Traveler Jonas sees him, and he's like, if you take him back now, you'll be messing up everything. Like
you alter your future, your father, your mother's future, all of that. So he left his brother there to essentially grow up and become his father.
Wait,
no, his
brother. Wait.
Jonas's brother.
No, Jonas doesn't have a brother. No. Yeah. That's why I was like, wait. No.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, Yorick's son, Mikkel. So that's Katarina and Yorick's son.
I'm trying to think, because I know there's another connection besides him being a father.
I think you're thinking of another character. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mikkel, yeah. So Mikkel basically
is his father uncle. Is that no? That's not it. Okay.
Nah, he's just the father. Like
Yeah. They have no real relation to each other.
Exactly. But you know what blows my mind is like, so Mikkel, it goes back in time, and it's like it's funny because it's like, I wonder what went through his head when he had Jonas, and it's like, oh, I know Jonas.
Yeah. Somebody that I used to know.
Yeah.
So creepy.
There's actually a scene when Jonas picks up the yellow jacket that he's known for, where Mikkel kind of just freezes, and he's just, Mikkel freezes, and he's like, that jacket. Like,
yeah.
He's like, oh God.
Yeah.
And I feel like he really loved Jonas.
No,
he's like, he was really, he was a recluse. Like, you when you see him in season 2, Hannah's actually trying to see if he'll go out to this party. He's just like, no, like, I don't want to go to my parents' party.
I mean, yeah, that he's saying in
and
his
see
head.
myself possibly
Right.
as a kid. You
Right.
know,
That's so creepy. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's funny how that connection is it's intense because first I forgot why, but Katerina, this was in season 2, Katerina drove by the house with Mikkel. And Mikkel really needed to use the bathroom, so he ran into Hannah's house, and then Michael was just so shook, like, when he saw it, so he kind of hid, and then where he was hiding wasn't even a good hiding spot.
yeah, so he scared Mikkel.
It was actually really creepy. It was like he was about to do something to
yeah, like he was like having a full-on panic attack,
Yeah.
and Mikkel is just like,
But
oh my
when they
God,
locked
please
eyes,
run.
it was like you can tell it's like they're just souls or something. Was like,
Right.
and then Mikkel ran out, and Michael ran upstairs. I think
freaking out.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
yeah.
It's
You
like, can
know-
you imagine you saw your future self and you didn't even know?
That is creepy.
That's so creepy.
That is.
Like, ugh.
girl, you better tell me something, future self. You better tell me something now.
Tell me something else.
Some lotto numbers, perhaps.
Yeah, give me some type of clue.
I don't want
I'm
nothing.
walking around here wandering.
I don't want nothing.
I'm wandering and lost.
You stupid.
Help me, please. Help me.
You won't say that if like your future self was on the subway, like begging,
Panhandling.
Doing what?
panhandling.
That's when you better tell me something.
How can I avoid being
Yes.
in this situation? Please let me know. Please
you
let me know.
panhandling? What did I go wrong? What did I do in my past life?
It's like that. It's like that scene from New Girl when Jake met his future self.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, just tell her you're sorry. And then remember, he's like, no, I'm going back in my time machine, and it was a box.
Yes.
That's gonna be her.
You gotta tell me something, especially if you know, like, girl, do not do that.
Mhm.
I just say don't. I'm be like, oh, that lady was nice. I'm not gonna think twice about it. I'm gonna listen to you. Actually, yeah, no, I'll listen to you.
Nah,
I don't know.
I don't think I'm gonna listen. I don't think I'm gonna listen.
I don't like
I
strangers,
wouldn't.
so I don't know.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Exactly.
gonna, especially New York City now. I'm not gonna
No.
listen. No. Maybe if I was like,
Leave me a note. Leave me a note.
maybe if I
something.
was like in Mexico or something, and I'd be like, what? Like what?
What does being in South America have changed the
Yeah.
dynamic?
Like,
I'm very.
what?
I don't know. Just like like what? Because I'm in a different country and everything. So it's like, what do you got to tell me?
Yeah, I can see that,
Yeah,
but that
come
can go
on.
in different ways too.
I
you
know. Like,
Mm.
yeah. Hopefully they speak English.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's happening anymore in this conversation.
You're the one who
Yeah,
went
we
down the
digressed down a rabbit hole.
I got lost somewhere with panhandling. I'm still on the train trying to figure out why I'm panhandling.
Yeah, I don't know how we
Still
got
over
there.
Yeah.
It'd be scary.
So to wrap up what's going on in season 1, we introduced you to the 4 families that are primarily in the show:
Right.
the Tiedemans, the Dopplers, the Conwalds, and the Nielsen's.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Mikkel in 2019 has disappeared. He entered a wormhole that dropped him into 1986. He ended up staying in 1986, and he grew to be Michael in 2019.
Right.
And what else?
Marries Hannah. Has Jonas.
Well, Jonas, at the end, basically, Jonas goes missing because he goes into
Right.
2052. And that's when we go to this new world, which I think we'll just talk about it in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's Noah. Noah's kind of just Noah. No last name right now.
No, we don't know
No.
anything about Noah really at that time. And what we end up knowing is still not enough, really.
Yeah, I'm still
So,
scratching my head.
Yeah.
But I cannot wait for you.
I
Miss
know we
Carolyn.
can't wait to shock the shit out of
Yes, because I
Carolyn.
tried to binge season 1 and season 2, but I just find that this is the type of show that it's great and you want to binge it. But I feel like after like the second or third episode, you kind of need to take a break so you can absorb everything that's going on with the characters. Because the thing about this show is that, as we said, it seamlessly moves from one year to the next. So it's just a lot to take in for every single episode. But, you know, it is a great show. It's, you know,
yeah,
definitely.
It's really good. I love this show.
So I unfortunately haven't finished all of season 2, which they're excited to drop some deets on me.
Oh, we're going to drop some bombs in the next one on you. In case that is you start watching the episode.
I mean, I'm probably going to try and watch a couple.
I feel like you're going to
just so I can refresh.
Don't go past episode 4.
I wish I could. I think next time I'll read some of my reactions to Amanda that I was sending her after I saw some episodes. Because if I read them, I like for you to know how I felt after watching and getting the bombs dropped on me. Because she likes to binge. Like, she'll like go. And I'm like, after half an episode, I'll be like, I need a minute.
Yeah.
No,
seriously.
remember? No, because there was a time me and you were basically live messaging. I'll say live messaging during one episode, and there was something. You were on the train, I think, and there was something. I was like, Jessica, I have to. Liz, I'm not going to message you right now. I was like, I got to rewatch this whole episode. Because that's when something
major
happened. And I was like, wait, stop messaging me.
I need focus.
Yeah, no, that's something. I think it was episode 5 or something.
Okay,
yeah,
so I'll really try to just watch the first 4.
Just watch the first 4.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I can do that.
It's going to be so good.
So, in conclusion,
watch Dark on Netflix.
Exactly.
It's on Netflix. 2 seasons, 18 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. I'm sure, like, you guys are already done with Stranger Things.
There's only 8 episodes this season, you know. Light work.
It was light work. I'm glad it was 8 episodes, though, actually. Because I'm glad they didn't, like, stretch it for no reason. Like, I'm glad there was no filler episode. Even though, to me, the first 2 episodes were boring. But...
yeah, they were very slow moving, but once you get past those 2 episodes, like the storyline picks up and all the character development really like goes in, and then you're like along for the ride.
Right.
Yeah, just to clarify, we were talking about Stranger Things on the slow episodes. Dark is not. There's no slow episodes.
It's really no slow. I honestly can't think of a slow episode on there.
There's no. It seems like it's going slow, but if you're not paying attention, you are missing a lot.
It's actually going fast in certain ways where you're going to have to, I guarantee you're going to have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, they have a lot of like blink and you miss it moments. Yeah. So if you're not really paying attention to what the characters are going through, you will definitely miss it.
Right.
Agreed. Okay. So this has been the Afro Puff Girls. Again, I am Jessica.
I'm
from Brooklyn.
Go. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
We just switched.
I didn't know you were gonna just put Brooklyn in.
Because Brooklyn is always in the house.
Poppin'.
And I am Carolyn from Harlem.
And I am Fancy Ams from the Bronx.
See, I need to get a nickname now.
Right?
I know.
I can't because I'm just not clever like that. So
you're more clever than you think.
Yeah, you.
I'm
For all of you who didn't see, the smile just walked upon her face.
We're gonna have to start like really video recording these podcasts.
Hilarious. Well, we thank you all for listening.
Yes.
Next week we'll discuss season 2 and all of the exciting and crazy events that go on in that last season. Thanks and goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.